Are you feeling anxious? Online Therapy 24/7 is here to help. We offer confidential support from the comfort of your own sofa. Our highly qualified therapists are experienced in a full range of daily challenges. You'll be in safe and trusted hands. Don't suffer alone. Change your life by calling us on 0207 553 50 80 and check out our website onlinetherapy247.com.
Well, a very good afternoon to you. I've got to be perfectly honest. I'm not going to lie. I've absolutely no idea where Russ is. So welcome along. It's Men's Radio on Wednesday, the 9th of December. And this is the Daily Show with what should be Russ Kane and me, Phil Dave. But like I say, no idea where Russ is. Tried to get through to him and alas, I can't. So very much hope he's okay. I'm sure he is. I'm normally told if something's not 100%. I can only assume he's having internet problems. That usually seems to be the reason behind his absence. However, you'll be delighted to hear that we've got a jolly packed show today. I know it's a Wednesday, it's not Friday, but even so, there is still quite the cracking lineup. A little later on, going to be joined by some very special guests who are going to be discussing the plight of the entertainment industry and in particular, how it impacts on our mental health and well-being. So I really want you, believe me, I really want you to get involved in this because otherwise you're just going to be listening to me waffle and I don't think anyone wants that. But what we're after is for you to say what the lack of the arts has meant to you and how it's impacted on you. Because if I think about what it's meant to me, I've really, really missed going to theatre. That has absolutely driven me bonkers in terms of not being able to do that. Now, I know that the nature of the work that I do, and based on the silly hours that I get up, means that I'm not completely able to do that at the best of times. But honestly, it seems like now more than ever, now that it's been taken away from us, that's why I'm really missing it. Now, I'm very pleased to report that I can see waiting in the digital green room, fashionably late. I'm not sure if he's still wearing pajamas. It's only Mr. Russ Kane. Oh, hi, Mr. Kane. How are we?
Well, here's the thing.
Did you oversleep?
Here's the thing. No. Here's the thing.
Oh.
On Thursday, we have the ABC of CBD with Ollie Mammon.
I think we've heard of that show, yes.
Which is a part of the Tincture Club, and it's a hugely successful show we do on Men's Radio Station. And I got a really bad bout of insomnia last night, and 3:30 in the morning, I suffer very badly from insomnia, and 3:30 in the morning, I was still wide awake. So I went into the kitchen, and I took a load of Ollie's CBD oil. God damn. I don't remember anything else.
Are you implying, albeit subtly, it works very well?
To say that it worked, I think I overdid the dose. Right. I think I overdid the dose. And man.
Excellent
work.
The
last thing I remember.
So I tell you what.
So
just putting this out there, seeing as that we have got guests joining us today, and as much as I'm sure people love to see you sort of as if you've just risen, do you need a few minutes? Shall I carry on? Our guests are joining us in about 5 minutes. So do you need a moment?
I need another lifetime. Yes, is the answer. I gotta tell you, hang on a minute. I gotta show you this. Right, hang on. Right. So I used, these are the little roller thing that I use. So I put on my wrist and my temples, this little roller thing. And then I took a few drops of this, right? Now, Ollie made it for me very strong because my sleep problems are huge. And I gotta tell you, You know, that's why I love that show on a Thursday, because the product is genius.
We can confirm, ladies and gentlemen.
I tell you what, you give me 2 minutes.
Yes, go forth and make yourself look for social media radio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we on? Well, at least we're not live. That's the main thing.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness.
It's just you and me. Thank God it's just you and me talking. And oh, Christ.
I'll catch up on some messages. I'll catch up on some messages and we'll see you in a bit. All right.
I go. Oh, bloody Nora. Man.
Goodbye. There we go. Merciful heavens. Right. Okay. Well, look, on the plus side, thank heavens Russ is okay. Right. So no one needs to worry. That's the main thing. But let's catch up with some of the messages that are coming in. And first off the mark, actually, now I know it's an unusual. Oh, I'm sorry, still laughing. So that's hilarious. I can't believe that, because anyone who knows Russ will know that he is shocking at sleeping. I mean, I haven't known him to sleep for years and years, where he would just lie in bed relaxing, but not sleeping at all. And the fact that he's managed to find a product that actually genuinely does help him. I can't believe that. Oh dear. Anyway, right. And what I particularly enjoyed is that at least it doesn't sound like he's just woken up. Anyway, right, let's catch up with some of these messages. First off the mark this morning or this afternoon. Good heavens, it's my mother. Good morning, lovely boys, says Linda Dave. Hi, hips. Tina Holt, Champagne Queen. Well, Your Majesty, we are honoured. Thank you. Good morning and hello, or good afternoon and hello to you. Paul Claridge says, good afternoon. Sorry I missed the show on Monday. Paul, you really have absolutely nothing to apologise for. Barry J. Allen. He says, very good afternoon or good morning to me, which is very nice. Thank you. Ed Grossman, good afternoon, everyone. Larry Viner, it's a look. I think he's talking about Russ there. You're quite right, Larry. I mean, I think it's absolutely extraordinary, really. Could you imagine him rocking up on Good Morning Britain looking like that? Unbelievable. Paul Rose, hello, chaps. Paul Rose says, skin up. And Paul Rose, Russ, your voice is lower and slower than usual. It really was. That was hilarious. Oh dear. Right. But look, do you know what? It's great to know that he actually can sleep at last, because for so long he hasn't been able to. Francois Pascal says, and now you're a zombie. Yes, I think he was. Steve Harris, good morning. Larry Viner says now that he's probably stoned. I think you're quite right there. I've never actually sort of known that, but I'd imagine that's the nearest that one gets to being stoned legally. So there we go. Paul Claridge also says, I have many friends who are actors and musicians. This is about, by the way, if you've just tuned in, we're going to, in just a few minutes' time, be joined by a few guests, which is exciting, who are going to be talking about the arts and entertainment industry. And more importantly, they're going to be talking about the impact it has on our mental health and well-being, because that's what we're about at Men's Radio, obviously, and Women's Radio. It's much more about talking about health and well-being. So we're going to be looking at how the lack of arts and entertainment that we've had access to in the last, how many months? 9 months, is it 10 months? Something like that. We're going to be talking about what kind of impact that has had on us. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we know about the dreadful impact it's had on the industry in terms of the way that actors and other performers have been able to do what they want to do or not do as they want to do, as the case may be, because obviously the work has not been there. It's dried up. So we certainly know about that. And I dare say that will probably come up. But we're much more interested in what it's meant to you. So Paul Claridge has said, he said, I have many friends who are actors, musicians, singers, etc. Most of them have been hit financially, but more importantly, some have suffered emotionally and mentally due to COVID lockdown, meaning that they can't do the jobs that they have worked so hard to do over the years. And they want to be on stage, on air, or wherever they are. And they don't want government ministers telling them to retrain. Yeah, look, I mean, the retraining thing I think was poorly worded. I believe what they were actually getting at is they were saying to them, look, it's probably not going to come back anytime soon. And therefore, for the sake of your livelihood and for the sake of what you do and earning a living, you probably would look to maybe get another job just for the short term. But I think it could have been worded a little better. Dave Sleet says, good afternoon, one and all. And Ed Grossman says, yes, but how many will have to retrain? What's sorry, yes, but many will have to retrain. Sorry, what's the problem? So, and I honestly, Ed, I kind of agree. I hate to say it. I mean, jobs come and go all the time. You know, what happened to farriers and things like that when they sort of ran out of horses? Anyway, it's just a thought. Anyway, I'm delighted to say that Mr. Kane joins us again now, looking sensationally snazzy. Good Lord, you scrub up quickly.
Doesn't take long, baby.
Clearly. Right. I see that, yeah, well, quite. I can see that.
Yeah, no, I'm really sorry. I blame Ollie Mammon and the ABC of CBD. That's all I got to say on the whole subject.
I knew it. He's trying to take over men's radio. He's trying to finish you off, and he wants to take over.
He's trying to make me completely into a zombie. Oh my God! What were you talking about? It sounded. What is interesting? Hey, this is interesting. I bugger off, and everybody is making comments. This is fabulous.
Well, I've caught up on all the messages. We'd like to hear. So the only one we haven't caught up with is Paul Claridge. There you go. We've got this one. We haven't read this from Paul yet.
Right.
So most of them do jobs.
Most of them do other jobs, so they're not on stage. This is how Paul Claridge talks. They stack shells, teach, etc., but their careers, which they have trained to do all their lives, are on stage. Paul doesn't talk like that at all. I just thought I new personality today.
Clear the pipes. Right, anyway, I'm delighted to say that our panelists are waiting in the wings. They're in the digital green room.
Our panelists? Hang on, we've got panelists now?
Looking suitably shocked. Now, I have to tell you, we are joined by soap opera royalty today. And bearing in mind that I believe Sarah Moore might not necessarily have stumbled across what we do here on Men's Radio before, she's looking suitably horrified, which is great news.
That's without further ado, day to turn up.
Without further ado, I suggest that we bring on Timmy Alexis Carrington Ward, aka.
Oh God! Oh Christ! I didn't think my day could get any worse. Oh, here she is! Don't you just hate it when somebody takes your whole act? I said it.
My side suggests the Kleenex are in need, and along. And without further ado. Can you gentlemen behave yourself, please?
No,
we're a very special guest.
Oh, well, shush, everybody. Quiet.
Why am I special?
It's only Valerie from Doctors. Hey! Sarah, what a treat. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure. You are really Timmy's +1. And Timmy said, "Can I bring Sarah Moyle?" And I said, "Sure."
Who? You said.
Well, I did. It's not. I've never watched the show, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
Goodness sake, man.
No, I've never seen one episode. It's enough that you're a friend of Timmy. Any friend of Timmy is a friend of ours.
Excuse me.
I'm very sorry.
Hey, it's not the way to welcome a guest on the show by telling you.
Being honest.
Oh, no, it's fine. I can't even get my family to watch. So.
No, I don't know.
Right, well, my mother will be.
Please don't be offended, but I can't bluff it, Phil. And Sarah Moyle could ask me the first question and say, "What is Doctors about?" And I'd have to say, "Doctors," and that's as far as I could go.
No, I mainly about receptionists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Tim is very, very worryingly quiet.
I'm waiting. This is what I can do. You see, if I've got a guest, I will listen to him.
God. Linda Dave, Phil's mum, is in ecstasy. Oh my God, love Valerie. Phil, they live together. Why didn't you tell me she was on? I'm a Doctor's addict.
So, to be perfectly honest with you, I thought it would be an element of surprise, and more importantly, it would be whether or not she actually genuinely pays attention to the program. If I told you beforehand that she was going to be on the show, well, then you might have tuned in automatically. But if I didn't tell you, now I know for sure you actually do watch and pay attention.
Have you dropped a hint about Friday's show to your mother, Philip? A slight hint?
Friday? What's happening on Friday?
Only the biggest surprise ever.
It's such a
right. Anyway, welcome. Now,
is it a surprise, or can't you tell us it is a surprise?
I'll do it later in the show. It's a huge surprise.
Any odd way. Right, we've only got you guys for about 45 minutes. So without further ado, look, this is a massive subject that I don't really think we're going to really cram into 45 minutes. But it is I was thinking about this when I knew this was going to be today's topic. I've heard loads in the news, as we all have, about how the entertainment and arts industry is really hardest hit in amongst all of this COVID malarkey, and how, you know, those who are either on stage or would be on stage, or even those who work behind the scenes in theatres, are all sort of having to either retrain or really sort of look down on whether or not they're sort of really going to see their career ever again. But I never really thought about what it means to me. And you know, since the theatres have been shut, and since live performances and even sort of concerts and singing and stuff like that has all been stopped, I find myself really missing it. I'm actually quite struggling, I think, with the lack of it, because I never realised before it was taken away just what it does actually mean to us.
Yeah. But that is totally across the board, isn't it? That is Netflix and everything. I don't think people realise how much it does seep into their life's entertainment. And if you did take away just for a day everything entertainment wise, they would then realize. Do you not think?
Totally.
Totally. I was having a chat with a friend yesterday, and we were saying, speaking specifically of theatre, you know, of course there are lots of people who say, oh no, theatre's not my thing, it's not, that doesn't interest me, I wouldn't care if it didn't exist. And then if they think about it, every single person has had a connection to theatre in some way, even if it's just going to a panto, seeing a comedian, you know, everybody has had, or going to watch live music even, in a theatrical setting. It has touched everyone's lives. And I think, as Tim just said, people don't sort of realise quite how much they are involved without almost knowing, you know.
Exactly. Subconsciously it's there, isn't it?
Because we are social creatures, and 2020 has proved just how much we need to be social creatures, because it's pushed us into a position that none of us have ever been in before. And
I said that to my husband last night. That's a position I don't want to go back to.
Sarah, please don't encourage him. Please. I'm begging you.
Oh, dear.
Isn't it marvellous that before Timmy came along, I thought this was a family show, but anyway.
Yeah.
With your mind.
Yeah, the trouble is the family with the Corleones. That was kind of where we went wrong. Right. So the thing is, and why, for example, comedy doesn't really work, because people have said, oh, you know, do this as a Zoom. You can't, because you need that human interaction. And that's the problem. That's what's been missing the whole year. It's something very different about watching a play in an audience or watching comedy in an audience, isn't there? And having everybody around you laughing. And I can't explain why it's like that, but it is.
And it takes you out of the place you're at. And actually, Sarah and I are very good friends, and so we speak a lot. And she summed it up brilliantly. Remember you said, Sarah, about being on the verge of tears for just such a long time. That's how this whole thing is, and that's why we're all going to be affected mentally, I think, after this. There's going to be a real post-coronavirus thing. And then I'm bringing this back to the theatre, and that's why theatre and things like that does take you out of the situation you're in, I believe.
You know, the other thing as well that I was thinking theatre does is that, especially when there's some sort of, even actually if there's not participation, no, let's put participation to one side, because participation obviously comes in the form of sort of, say, maybe like watching a one-man show or perhaps even sort of panto or something like that. But let's just imagine that it's not. You've got a serious production that's going on, and what that does is it puts you in equal company, I think is the only way I can describe it. So in other words, when you're in that auditorium, sitting amongst people, you all have right there in that one moment a common interest. You're all partaking in the same activity. And it somehow makes you feel that much closer to humanity in some weird way, because what it's doing is it's giving you instantly that sort of link with hundreds of other people that you don't know. See what I mean? It sounds almost daft to say it, but that's how it makes me feel. Is it, even though I've never met most of the people in that theatre in that moment, I feel like I've got something in common with them, because I'm actually sort of watching the same thing that they're doing. I'm doing the same thing that they're doing, possibly laughing and crying in the same places. And it's just, it's a way of linking people together. It's a real way of
how Russ and I got close. We were in a very dark cinema in Soho, weren't we? Sat next to each other, and we got acquainted, didn't we?
Yeah, it was Timmy's first production into porn. It was the story. It was the story of an English soldier in World War One who was sent out to fight the Turks, and it was called Lawrence of the Labia. It was a marvelous film. Timmy was great in the role. Timmy was great.
But no, you are absolutely right on all of that front. That it is. I believe it just, even watching Netflix and or any of those things, it just takes yourself away. It's sort of like a spa. It takes you away, sets your button again, and then you come back. Sorry, Sarah.
No, I was just going to say, talking about that sort of shared experience in a theatre, as well as sort of, 10 people can go and watch the same play on different nights, but as well as seeing the same play, each person has their unique experience in that theatre that night. Something different could go wrong, somebody could heckle differently. It's a completely unique experience, which you wouldn't have if you were sitting watching a live streaming of something at home by yourself.
It's completely different, isn't it? It's absolutely completely different. Although there are some things which will completely be changed, I think, forever. And I think business and commerce will be completely changed after this. You don't need offices.
No, absolutely.
You don't need. I'm not far from Canary Wharf, and I look at this giant building. Some of them have just been topped out and finished. They are huge, and I think you're not going to fill those. You don't need people. You don't need people,
and that's quite a good thing as well. That will cut back on travel and things as well, won't it? There's going to be good coming from it.
You say that, but don't underestimate the importance of the social aspect of the office environment, because I'm quite lucky in the job that I do that I still have to go to the office in the mornings. Now, when I go there, I'm there for 4 a.m. and I leave at 6:30 a.m. Now, what that does is it pretty much siphons me off from all of my colleagues that I'm used to seeing, because of course I wasn't just there between 4 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. It used to be, it was about 4 a.m. to about midday I was there. But I'd see other colleagues, I'd speak to them, socialize, chat, have a bit of food in the canteen with them. And I really miss all of that. So actually, if that goes forever, I think that'll be horrible.
And also stationery. How are you going to get your stationery? You can't go in that cupboard and put that all in your bag.
I'll tell you what it's marvellous for at the moment is that they keep handing out these face masks. This is brilliant. You get all the disposable ones from there. It's terrific.
I love it. Timmy has the ability, it doesn't matter what you're discussing, to reduce it ad absurdum, and it just always cracks me up.
Well, luckily someone who might get this back on track. Do you know what? We've got, as they say, we've got an understudy waiting in the wings, thank heaven. So we'll say goodbye to Tim, and we'll welcome Tim Arthur. No, I'm joking.
Oh, there he is.
Hello.
Oh. It's my boss.
So,
what's that? He's your boss?
He got me to do my show at the Stag, at Theatre Above the Stag.
What?
Who
knew that?
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. Tim, you kept that under your hat.
Hello. How are we all? Are we all right?
Yeah. We're still here.
Marvelous.
I thought that's why you brought him on. He literally
No.
He rang me up after I did a radio program with him. He watched my show on YouTube and he said,
"Oh, you poor
I'm
sod.
in charge of the cabaret lounge above the Stag. It's made for your show." And I said, "No way." I said,
very wise. That was a good decision.
But we were going to book him for Thursday. For the what's the month before December? November.
Oh God!
I said, I can't do it. It's totally out of my comfort zone. I'm not a live person. Then he rang
you're not.
and said, "I've got another," and then that was all done in lockdown. So don't know if that was in the stars. But then he said to come. He's got a slot to fill in December.
That's what your husband said last night.
Oh, look, you just managed to hold yourself back there, Timmy, didn't you? You just almost managed to get through that last sentence without
That
doing it.
innuendo.
Timmy, can I just, I really admire you for being so honest about that, because I can vouch for the truth in the statement that you're not much good live since appearing on this program. So thank you. So,
Wah, 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 wah.
Look at Tim.
Now, Tim MacArthur. Yeah, Timmy, shush.
Clean
Tim
shaven today.
Yeah, I'm. To be honest, it's a bit of
Hello,
a shock
boys.
to see you looking so svelte and so suave. Now, Tim, how have you been? Because I obviously we know each other well. You broadcast on,
Yes.
on Men's Radio, and also you're very open and vocal with your postings, which I have to say it's like a real journey with you. You know, you're it's kind of. It's kind of like that. How have you been dealing with? I'm just curious. How have you been dealing with 2020?
On a whole, I think I have found, looking back on it now at the end of the year, I actually think, as much as I feel like it's been like this, I actually feel like I've been quite positive about it. Now, stepping back and looking about it, and I think, the first lockdown, I think, was horrendous for everybody, but I actually used it to really look at myself. I've lost nearly 3 stone now. I exercise regularly, and I have to say, I really underestimated the power of exercise. It's not just as a physical thing, because I feel like if I do 60 minutes on the bike every day, then if I don't do anything else for the rest of the day, I know that I've achieved something, and it just puts you in a mental frame of mind, and it's made me actually be much more proactive in lots of things, in my work and even tidying around the house, getting rid of things, selling crap on eBay. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's really made me look at things a lot. And I think lockdown 2 was a little bit more tricksy. I think it's the lockdown 2 for me has felt like someone has given you a bag of Haribo, and they've said, okay, you can have these amount of Haribos, but you're not allowed the red heart Haribos yet. You've got to wait until 2021 so you can go out down. That's sort of my mental feel of it.
yeah, well, you know what I think it is with the first lockdown, none of us knew what to expect. It was almost a novelty. Even though, don't get me wrong, it was still horrendous, and I know an awful lot of people suffered quite badly with it. But I feel as though the first lockdown, it was the intrigue of the unknown. But with the second one, most people were living in fear it was going to go back to the first one, which of course we'd all been through, we'd all survived it, and thought, oh no, so we're going back.
Second lockdown, it's been a bit lockdown, I think.
Oh no, totally.
No. I found it much worse. It's very interesting.
Meaning people aren't doing anything different, Russ. Meaning that people aren't taking it seriously now. It's like,
no.
That's what I mean by that.
And I'm with you on that. And without doubt, somehow we'll stagger through Christmas, whatever that might mean, and then January they're gonna just absolutely lock us down like crazy. I think it's guaranteed. I think it's guaranteed.
We're heading for a big old lockdown in January, February. We were saying this morning on another Zoom call that lockdown number 2 was like a bad sequel.
Yeah.
So we thought we were in a bad sequel. Yeah.
Lockdown 2, the musical.
Yeah.
Right.
Sarah, what's it been like at work? Seriously, because I know that actually there was one doctors towards the start of the year did this it was clever in the sense it was almost like saying, don't worry, we're with you through this, where you did a whole episode, or I think you did actually a few episodes via Skype, via video link. And I thought that was genius, because that's actually sort of saying, well, look, and it was bizarrely enough, I think you're sort of one of the few soaps that actually has truly reflected it. You now sort of see Emmerdale and Corrie sort of wearing masks, but you look at the Aussie soaps, Neighbours and Home Away, they don't do masks or anything like that. So it's almost as if their life carries on as normal. But in particular, I thought with Doctors, the fact that you did that with the video links, I just wonder what it's been like there, because it's been quite a long time in between filming as well, hasn't it?
It's been very weird. We did that lockdown episode, which we all filmed ourselves on our phones at home. So that was quite the experience. And I think our bosses, the creatives, decided, well, okay, we have to acknowledge that this COVID is happening, But actually, what people tune into doctors for generally is a bit of escapism and sometimes a bit of nonsense, mostly where my character's involved. So they have sort of made the decision, and quite a bold decision, I think, in some ways, that what you're seeing on television now, the stories are in a kind of post-COVID world where it's mentioned, but it's not dwelt on. We don't do masks. We're not talking about it all the time. We're not doing. The doctors aren't doing online consultations, you know. But the whole filming of it has been very different, obviously, like all the soaps. We're in this kind of weird 2 meters world. So we're having to be a lot more creative. We've only got one camera. Normally we have 2. We have to do our own makeup. So
Sarah, you wrote the episode that went out last Wednesday. So I watched it because my friend had written it and was, you weren't in it, but it was really apparent how everybody was just, at one scene, she was sitting at the table and the other woman was sitting on the windowsill because you had to do the social distance thing. And it really, I noticed it so much that they literally, it was quite fun actually to watch and say, how are they going to get around this? How are they going to get around that? Going through doors and things.
It's really difficult because you sort of also forget it's not just the actors who have to be 2 meters apart. We have to be 2 meters from the cameraman, 2 meters from the boom operator, 2 meters from, you know, anybody who's running around doing props and stuff. So,
which is where your acting looks better, isn't it? 2 meters away, and then it becomes a bit normal because you're a bit Sue Pollard-ish, aren't you?
You say my acting is quite large.
You're made for theatre, dear, aren't you? You're made for theatre.
Go large or go home.
Sarah, you're obviously doing something right, because Veronica's messaged here to say Sarah Valerie. I mean, come on, they can't even differentiate, right? Sarah / Valerie, you are a hoot on doctors. And she also goes on to say, no panto season is going to be so difficult for children this year.
And then Sharon McGovern. She said, even children can't do nativity plays. Drama students are devastated. And then she goes on to say, my grandchildren are devastated and I struggle mentally as I can't get out to any of my clients. She does amazing work. Let's leave it at that. As many don't have computers, they're over 70, young. So sad. I'm going supermarket Sunday with hubby to pay pensioners' shopping bills. That's a very good thing. And she also lost 5 family members during lockdown because as she points out, no one was taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And if you saw the pictures that I posted, I know
one thing with this COVID thing that it has definitely demonstrated the best and worst of humanity, hasn't it? Seriously. In terms of those who actually sort of genuinely put others first, just for the record, just in case anyone's too stupid to realize this, and just in case the message wasn't coming across clear, the reason why we wear masks when we go out is not to protect ourselves, it's because it's to protect others, so the germs don't go flying anywhere and covering other people with whatever germs you might be breathing into the atmosphere, right. Just in case you didn't know this. But it's amazing the number of people who, I don't like wearing masks. We're not doing it for you. So what like wearing masks? What do you mean?
When they are the celebrities, and I had a word, I've spoken to friends about this, when it's celebrities and they're breaking the rules, presenters, whatever, she said it was arrogance, my friend. I said it's not arrogance, it's stupidity, because they're obviously going to be recognized wherever they are, and yet they're breaking these rules. That's stupidity, isn't it?
It is stupidity. It's stupidity and arrogance.
I'd say
Tim, what do you think about the fact that we're just going to say, Kay Burley is in a world of trouble now. She will not be back on air till early next year, and that's with a question mark. It's they have to be if you're going to criticize people, then you've got to be, whiter than white. You've got to be spotless in your behavior. Do you think that it's right that the world should just fall on them and the people should say, oh, you made a mistake, it's okay, come back?
Tim, can I just butt in just to do the predictable thing that Kay is not here? So let's not make it too much about her. I think it's more about those in the limelight in general.
Precisely. It's irrelevant who it is, but let's just say a well-known broadcaster.
I think rules are rules, and everyone should abide by the rules that have been set out. You know, none of us want to be in this situation, and it's really frustrating for, I'm sure, Sarah and Timmy as well. Well, all of us really, that those of us in the entertainment industry, especially, we've been hit really hard. And I get so angry when I get onto the tube and someone is not wearing a mask, because I just sit there and I just think, the longer you are not wearing that mask, and however many other people are not wearing the mask, the longer we're going to be in this for. And it's just responsibility. But I do think anyone in the public eye has to be seen to be following the rules. And that goes from celebrities, it goes from politicians, it goes from everything. And I think that one of the main factors that it all started to go wrong, and I'm going to say the word, it was Barnard Castle.
Oh,
I think that was the big start of it. And from that point, when it wasn't taken seriously, people just looked at it and thought, well, if he can get away with it, then I'm going to do that for whatever situation, for whatever circumstance, whatever rules we have with COVID, you know, whichever side they break. I think that was the major part of it. And from that point, it's not been the same, because, you know, I know people who said, well, I'm going to drive there because, well, the government don't care, because if they cared that much, then Boris would have sacked him.
I mean,
do you know, I think where it could have been really simply remedied is if he would have just apologized and not tried to lie his way out.
Absolutely.
He kept digging the problem is he kept digging a bigger hole, and the inventor needed a JCB to get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does he? How stupid does he think that we are? Seriously, when he sort of says, "I was testing my eyesight." Really, come on, for heaven's sakes, just admit it doesn't matter. We're going to make mistakes through this because this is new to everybody, but just own it. Just really sorry, I shouldn't have done it.
They're relying on things like, yeah, but we thought this. I have had friends who totally broken the rules. I say I had friends because they're not, and they'll say things as, we carefully thought this through. No, it's still rule breaking. You can carefully do what you like. You've broken, and we're not standing united.
Sorry, Sarah.
Let me come back to Tim.
Sarah, just say that point again. Sorry, because we missed that. It didn't come through.
No, I was just going to say that it also it's embarrassing, and it also gives famous people, celebrities, and even worse now, because you know traditionally we think they're pandered to, indulged, and think they're special. And when people who are well known or in the public eye do things and go, oh, I just made a mistake. You're like, no, I'm sorry, you've got even more of a responsibility.
I believe they've got to be whiter than white.
Absolutely. And that's why Nicola Sturgeon, you know, when she sacked that MP who travelled around halfway across the country with COVID, you know, she said, you've got to resign. And she did. And that, you know, I thought that's how it should be. And it's just rules have to be obeyed. And, you know, otherwise we're going to be in this. It's not going to go away. You know, and as we mentioned, you know, when I just joined the show now, we were saying, Sarah, you said, I think about February, we're going to be in a major lockdown. I don't want to be in a lockdown in February. I want to get back. I want to start living my life. I want to be able to hug my friends. You know, I'm such a huggy person, and to not be able to even touch somebody.
But all those shows, Tim, that are up and running, we'll have to stop again. Think of those poor producers and things, the amount of money they are just throwing down the toilet. It's horrible.
Well, you know, it's like, Timmy, while you're doing your show above the Stag, you know,
she cut out just while she
worked so hard to make the venue COVID secure. Yeah. You know, the Panto in the main house, you know, that opened, the press night is tonight, you know, and I've just read somewhere on social media that London, we may be going to tier 3 in, you know, from maybe next Wednesday when they announce it. And you just think, oh my God, you know, we've just started, you know, we are spending, the venue has spent money to make our audiences feel safe, to make our actors feel safe. And we're only a little small theatre in a small wheel of the entertainment industry. And it's just so frustrating. And that's what I get more angry with, people who don't wear masks, who don't abide by social distancing.
And Tim, my husband, when this started, when it ended in March, is not going to be, he's the company manager of Back to the Future. That's not going to come back till April. So he's had over a year without any work. That's just makes you want to cry. We're so emotional in this house.
Well, here's the thing. From now, Sharon McGovern, who is English and has had a huge effect on my life for reasons I won't really go into because of the work that she does. We met out by chance in Los Angeles and became chums. And she wrote an extraordinary book. And then the people out in Hollywood said, this is a film. And she says, my film is supposed to be made in Hollywood, was supposed to be made in Hollywood last year about November, and they were getting casting now all over. We have to wait, and it could be 3 years before they can go back to the casting, get everything back on track to make the film. It's of her life. It's her life story, which is both visceral and quite extraordinary. And that's it. So you've got from the room above, the stag where Timmy's performing and where both the Tims are performing. You've got that at one level, and it's really important. It's really part of London life and theatrical life. Please don't ever dismiss that. I think it's great. And then at the other end, you've got a Hollywood film, and it's all it's proportional to how it all gets affected.
I think also people that haven't been affected by it just don't understand it. I was at my sister's yesterday. Now she's worked all the way through this, but she's from our family. We've got our morals are very high, and so she's kept by it. But it's those people that are working, getting their money in, nothing has changed for them, that they just don't get it. Life is going on normal for them, and so they don't care and give a stuff about the other people. It really is, like you said, Phil, it's a magnifying glass on people's personalities and who they really are, I think.
Now, 2 questions for Tim MacArthur. Number, and going back to something that you said earlier, and it's something that we all, bizarrely, normally we all have different opinions, but we're all on the same page on this one. If you see somebody on the tube not wearing a mask, do you sit there and silently fume, or have you ever plucked up the courage to just say, why aren't you wearing a mask?
I sit silently fume, but I have also been known to stare them to death as well.
Sorry, Sarah, say again.
Utterly brilliant.
I think with my stares, I'm definitely my mother comes out in me when I do the evil stare. Definitely, I think. And I am actually
pandemic, isn't it? Of being stared to death. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, it is. And I'm actually getting
that we're so quite rightly so disgusted with the way that some people behave. But the sort of the prim and proper and British thing to do would be just almost let it pass over our heads. But because this is so serious, it's very difficult to do that. And
I've run through a park shouting at everybody. I've had to David stop me going through certain parks when it was the sun, when people were sunbathing, because I would walk one end to the other park shouting at every single body that was sunbathing, really shouting and having the biggest go at them. Because I lost a friend very early on due to it. And it's like people just, it's a Russian roulette about this thing that people just...
Totally.
Timmy,
Alexander
I think you've hit...
one of our broadcasters, says, I always say something. Excellent.
Timmy, I think you've hit a point there. Sorry, I think that's the main important thing that you've hit on there. I think if you know, or if you've lost someone or people or relatives or friends from COVID, I think that changes your whole perception of it. Because I've lost people as well. And I think some people just think, oh, it's not going to affect me. I'm not going to catch it. I'm going to carry on. And I think I lost someone very early on who had no underlying health conditions, 2 little boys aged 5.
Oh, God.
And she woke up on the Friday morning, had a cough. On Sunday morning, she collapsed at home and died. And it took her 48 hours. And when that really at the start just resonated with me, and I just thought,
say that again. She woke up on
the Friday morning, had a cough and a temperature. Sunday morning, she collapsed at home and died.
Dear God.
You didn't have underlying issues there?
No underlying health issues.
Wow.
And she was only 48.
Gee.
God.
Wow.
And at that point, I went, "Oh my goodness, this is really, something serious that we need to really take seriously." Really.
Well, I think
Angela Lee highlights the moronic behaviour of some individuals who seem to think that they sneeze through their chin. Because she says, what the hell's the point of when people just wear their masks around their chin rather than their mouth and their face? That drives me nuts. And my personal grievance more than anything is when someone can be bothered to wear a mask. Have you ever seen this where they pull the mask down to speak to somebody or they actually are walking along pulling the mask down so they can be seen on FaceTime?
But that gives
every day
for a job, because then he gets into his staring people to death again.
Yeah.
He's full-time starer.
Sorry.
Tim MacArthur.
Just hang on, peeps. Look, we're talking over Sarah. We've got a really important guest, and we're all talking over Sarah. Sorry, what did you say just now? Sorry.
No, all I said was I see that every day. People pulling down their masks to do a FaceTime.
You see, that was a waste getting her to say that again.
Even before COVID, I would actually put on a mask to do a FaceTime because it's more pleasant for the people.
You do a balaclava, didn't you, girl?
Yeah.
Stop it. Tim MacArthur. What? Now, this is of interest to people who are thinking, well, how do the theatres and how do places of business try to make them safe? What have you done in your venue?
So at the Stag, with the new rules as well, that you have to be seated at a table in your seat to a ticketed event to order an alcoholic beverage from the bar. So you cannot sit in the bar area. You can sit in the bar area, but there's no drinking. You're not allowed to order anything. You have to be physically sat at a table in the cabaret lounge where Timmy is playing this weekend and Sarah. The tables are socially distanced. We have 48 seats available in the space. When COVID is over, we'll probably get about 85.
Have been sold, by the way. It's not you have got 48 available.
Yes, no, I meant, you know what I mean? That's what you have sold seats, Timmy. You have sold seats, you know what I mean? But as in a regulation. But what's also been really interesting, I've also directed the Royal Vauxhall Tavern Panto, Pricked, the Dirty Adult Panto. And as a director, I've had to really look at social distancing of the actors on stage, how to block something that still tells a story that your actors are not touching. All the actors have their own props. So no other you're not allowed to pass a prop to another actor on stage. Everything has to be sanitized. And the blocking has been really interesting because when you watch it, a friend of mine said, "Oh my," he said, "I would never have noticed."
Tim, can you explain for people who are not in the industry what blocking means?
So blocking is basically where you will be staging a scene where you'll have the actors, will be interacting with each other on stage. And normally they can be quite close to each other and having a conversation. But I have sort of 5 actors to physically move around the Royal Vauxhall Tavern stage, which is not the biggest stage in the world. So I have gone for various formations of 3 people, say, at the back of the stage, and then 2 people downstage in the gap, so there's no spraying of spittle, because I know some actors do have a lot of spittle. I quite like that word, spittle. Have you ever used that word? Oh, Sarah Moyle. Spittle. And
he's collapsing all over the blithering.
I know, microphone. I was spittling too much on my microphone. You what? Sorry?
You got very overexcited.
I did. Well, it's just because I'm passionate about the magic of theatre, the magic of theatre, the magic of theatre.
Thank God for that.
Yeah,
we're overexcited about the magic of saliva. But anyway,
yeah. Well, there we go. And so it's been a challenge, but in a way, looking at it now, the show, the show is opened and it's working. It's actually been probably one of the most creatives I've had to be, because as well, Panto, again, it's all about audience interaction. So the audience cannot be vocal. They are not allowed to shout. They are not, they're not allowed to shout. It's behind you. Oh no, it isn't. So we thought, we've got buzzers on the tables that the audience will buzz, that they press. One person can only press the buzzer because obviously, but if they're in their household bubble, then they're fine. They're all sanitized between shows. So the audience do that, but then I've had to think about visual interaction. So each character will come on, and the prince, for example, will doff his hat. Do you know what I mean? And all the audience then will doff the hat back or use the microphone. It's all very
rude.
Yeah, it's rude. It's rude.
Sarah is watching. We have a very special guest. There is no vulgarity.
I'm very delicate.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm going to sanitize her between shows, aren't I?
Yes, well, please do.
My question for Tim is, can I phone ahead with my alcohol order for when I go to watch Timmy's show?
You can order at the table.
You might need to get some extra in.
Yes. Well,
a couple of vineyards, Sarah. A couple of vineyards are on standby.
What's your tipple, Sarah Moyle?
Anything alcohol flavored.
Okay. We have a new rosé, which I don't know if you like rosé, which I can never remember the name of it. I end up calling it one in the hand, two in the bush is my term for it, but it's not that at all. It's like two birds, one stone or something. Anyway, I'm gutted that I'm not going to be there to watch you though, Timmy, this weekend.
You're missing nothing, Tim.
Listen, he got me into this trouble, then he's buggered off.
Oh,
Yes, why?
So-
Explain, Tim MacArthur, having dragged, kicking and screaming. Yes, Timmy Alexis
Yes,
Carrington
kicking and screaming.
It wasn't it, though? It was.
Why can you not be there?
Because I'm actually doing a Christmas show at the Cockpit Theatre, a celebration of Christmas called A Perfect Christmas. We had our press night last night. So it's just a really lovely
He's really got out.
traditional Christmas songs. I might have frozen. Did I frozen? Did I freeze?
Yeah, let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let it go. We're not doing any of that. There's no Russ. There's no frozen. But it's just like a celebration of Christmas. Have yourself a merry little Christmas sleigh ride. Little donkey, even Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. In the bleak midwinter. It's just a really lovely celebration of Christmas.
We're getting told off by Alexander Lichtenfeld, the Martini Queen. It's Wednesday, not We've got to change the date.
Oh, there it is. Heavens. Oh dear.
Thank you, Alex.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Only taken 50 minutes to get that correct.
I love the way that not one other person spotted it was completely the wrong day.
No one knows. That's the other thing with lockdown. I've never known what day it is.
I have no idea.
I'm going to change it. Actually, it's Blur's Day, the 12th of whatever. There you go.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't matter. It's not like you got a diary full of stuff. Right now we've got you all here. Here's a question, not really related to theatre. When do you ever think? And I'm starting with Star of Doctors, Sarah Moyle. Do you ever think we will go back to how life was pre-March 2020?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
I feel quite strongly that we're almost forever changed, if only in terms of we now have in our psyche that something like this can happen, and we're vulnerable to it. And I wonder if shaking hands is going to be a thing of the past.
I'll never do that again. I've been public about that. It's going to be that. I won't shake hands ever again, which is a kind of a big thing. But there again,
isn't it? I mean,
what it is.
And didn't it used to be, to prove you weren't carrying a weapon or something? So maybe we don't need it anymore.
I like the thought of adopting. Oh, I don't know. There are some parts of South London. I'm not sure. Anyway, I would love. I would love that. Well, look, I'm from Hertfordshire, so I'm allowed to say that. But I would suggest that I quite like the idea if we adopt sort of the Far East attitude of where people bow to each other. I quite like that because that's just a respect thing.
I do like a curtsy.
Yeah, then we'll have 7 weeks of The Guardian saying cultural appropriation, so we can get that idea straight away. You can't do anything about it.
If everyone just curtsied, that would be good, wouldn't it? I'd love everyone just curtsying to people.
I've adopted the curtsy.
I like it.
Anyway, so back to important star Sarah Moyle. So
I've never been treated so well.
Well, the least we can do, because of your time and everything.
Well,
So
Sarah, he's never treated anyone this well either. So
stop it now. We got a lot of. I'm getting in the running because we've got a lot of big guests coming up over the next couple of days. So so one of the things is Tina Holt saying, "I love a hug." I think that whole sort of man thing. The whole man thing of like, hey, great to see you. And I don't know where the hell that came from. Everyone's slapping you on the back like you've just come back from bombing Dresden or something, when all you've done is wander up Old Compton Street and said hello to somebody for a drink.
More than Compton Street, Joe.
No, that'll all go. I think I think Sarah's right. I think that'll all go. What else do you think is going to change?
God, I don't.
well, I believe I may butt in. I reckon. And what do you think of this? I reckon sort of the home and office work environment, sort of the lines are going to be much more blurred with that. Yeah. I don't think everyone's going to dart to work every day. It may be a bit more of a hybrid situation.
Yep.
That gives people quality time at home, because I know with David, they would have to go in for a meeting before the show and things, where they could have just easily have done this, which they didn't do. So that will give people a lot more time to play around with and be with their family, I think. So I think that's a good thing. Apart from, you said you like the interaction of work and things, Phil.
But you don't. But what this is proof. Oh, this is so true. I miss hugs from the grandchildren, but not into all of this touchy-feely stuff. Angela, yeah, I'm kind of right, and especially when people you've never met go, oh, hello, and they come up and give you a kiss, and it's like, well,
actually, on the very point,
that's not for me at all.
You tell me what is different between meeting somebody, going up and giving them a hug and a kiss or what have you when you've just met them, than going up to a total stranger on the street and doing exactly the same. It is no different. You don't know that person any better, and yet no one would go up to a random stranger on the street and give them a hug and a kiss.
Well, Sarah, that didn't stand up to court, did it, when you gave that as your excuse?
I had to change my ways. Friendly girl.
She's a friendly girl, Sarah.
Tim MacArthur, what do you think are the big changes we're going to see?
Well, I definitely think less of physical contact between people. I also think businesses will operate differently, definitely. And a lot more companies will do Zoom meetings when they know they won't have to go into the office to do stuff. I mean, I've got friends who work in finance sector, and they've already been told that some of the companies that they're going to close their offices down. And then if they need to hire a space or have a weekly meeting, they will just hire an office or a weekly meeting room. So I think that's definitely going to change. I think regarding the entertainment industry, I think theatre will change. And it's maybe another time for this debate. And I'm in a real split mind about live streaming things from venues, because I think I understand some people can't get there, but I think at the end of the day, that potentially could really harm theatre. Because how many times, we've all been there when we've had tickets to go and see something, and it's blowing a gale outside, it's a tropical storm, and you sit there and you go, oh, I wish I didn't have to go tonight, but I've got a ticket, so I'll go. So I think once the minute the option comes in that things can be live streamed, then potentially that will kill theatre.
Tim, what about if it was some sort of hybrid ticket where you could either go there in person or you could watch the live stream? So you'd still have to buy the ticket, and the ticket would give you that online access if you would rather that was an option. Because then that way, the only thing you're saving is the travel.
Yeah, but you're not. But there's so much more. A lot of venues need bar take. A lot of venues make their money on the bar.
All those things.
And it's not just that. You think of all the restaurants and all the things around that entertainment, that art centre. And especially in you think of regional towns as well, how much a regional town will rely on their main arts, concert venues, comedy clubs. People will, it's like, I think it could really damage the industry on so many levels.
It's really is the effect. I've got to be wary of the time of throwing a pebble into a still stream, because people just think, oh, it's just the venue, poor old actors. It's not that at all. It's all the ancillary staff, most of which you will never see, the wardrobe people, the lighting people, the sound people, the front of house, the people selling the programs, all of that sort of stuff. And as you say, Tim, people keep forgetting this. People go to a bar or a restaurant first. All of that will have gone. They'll probably go out afterwards and have a drink, or maybe you pop the bar Italia, I don't know, and have a coffee and a little cake or something. All of that will have gone. And particularly the bar, as you say, and people, and I'd completely missed this point, to be honest with you, until you said it, the bar take. People rely on that. And of course, regional theatres rely so much on panto. Those 2 months of panto, when everyone's dragging their kids and their aunties and the grannies along, pay for the next 10 months when they can do more adventurous material. Well, that's gone. So, and it's a very sad point. I'm going to go back to Ed Grossman. I haven't hugged my grandson. I know you put it up, but it's a heart-tugging point. I haven't hugged my grandson in so many months. I fear he's forgotten me. It's very sad. He won't have forgotten you, Ed, but it is horrible not having that with the family. That is, I hate it.
I'm so sorry, everyone, but that's it. Time's up. It's unbelievably flown by, but thank you to what a terrific panel. Tim
Fabulous panel.
Here she is, Timmy Alexis Carrington Ward, and Sarah. Well, I mean, honestly, if we were in
royalty.
Royalty.
This weekend
of an audience,
And good luck with all your shows, Tim MacArthur. Good luck with everything that you're doing,
you.
and good luck, Timmy.
thank you so much, one and all. We really appreciate it, and thank you very much for watching and for your comments. We will hopefully see you very, very soon here on Men's Radio.
Are you feeling anxious? Online Therapy 24/7 is here to help. We offer confidential support from the comfort of your own sofa. Our highly qualified therapists are experienced in a full range of daily challenges. You'll be in safe and trusted hands. Don't suffer alone. Change your life by calling us on 0207 553 50 80 and check out our website onlinetherapy247.com.